Hello, everybody, and welcome to our final NBC Hoops Shootaround. Joined by our NBC Hoops analyst, Adam Immonecker, former Drake Bulldog. Adam, how are things going with you?
Things are going well, Derek. Sad to see the season end. How about you?
Yeah, you know what? It was a tremendous run. We had a great March, obviously, with Arch Madness, NCAA tournament, and a lot of action. Missouri Valley Conference hosting the NCAA tournament in St. Louis with Wichita State at our site. Had one of the fantastic games of Wichita State and Kentucky, but obviously just a fantastic year, another season of Missouri Valley Conference basketball. And when we take a look back at the 2013-14 season, the year review, obviously Wichita State, the headlining with the undefeated regular season. What some of the things you look back at the season, and what do you think about when you go back and look at this year?
Yeah, and I think this is a season we're never going to forget just because of the success that Wichita had. I mean, starting the season 35-0, being the first team in college basketball to reach that pinnacle of performance. And I know it was a disappointing loss in the NCAA tournament to Kentucky, but you're talking about a team that was preseason #1 in the country, stacked with McDonald's All-Americans, and it took their absolute best game to get by this Wichita team. And, you know, what the good news is, you look at the guys that are really the main contributors. Other than Clay Anthony Early, your core is back. You have Fred VanVleet, you have Takeo Cotton, you have Ron Baker, and you add in Darius Carter, a guy that was really their main scorer off the bench. I think the future's still bright for Wichita, but this was a really special year and something I don't think we'll ever forget.
Absolutely. Obviously, with their Final Four run and undefeated run, just they're going to definitely be one of the teams to watch. You look for in the future, but
Absolutely.
in the future, we've got a ton of youth in the league. As you look back, some of the all conference players and specialty award winners. Fred VanVleet, Wichita State once again
Yep.
headlining that. Youth dominating some of those awards, but you take a look at that could very well be the story of the future. We talk about just how good the Valley could be in the future with all the young players coming back.
Yeah, you look at first team, and you have 4 out of those 6 on the first team are underclassmen. So the seniors being Clay Anthony Early and Jake Odom, but otherwise Seth Tuttle, DJ Ballantyne, Ron Baker, and Fred VanVleet really highlighting that first team. And that is a really, really solid core of players. You look at the second team and the honorable mentions as well. That's stacked with young guys. Guys like on the honorable mention team, Milton Doyle is going to be a really exciting player as he continues to progress in his career. Anthony Bean, a guy from Southern Illinois, making second team, had a really great close to the season. All newcomer teams, and obviously is pretty stacked with guys that are going to be next year, the bench team as well. I think there's a lot to look forward to, and this was a year where the Valley was pretty top-heavy with Wichita State doing so well, Indiana State having a pretty decent season as well. But all those teams in the middle of the pack and maybe beyond were very, very young. So that bodes really well for the future. I think the future is bright for the Missouri Valley Conference.
And we talk about the future. We look forward to the immediate, the 2014-15 season. Obviously,
Yep.
it'll be the 25th year for us at Arch Madness in St. Louis, the
Wow.
silver anniversary of the tournament. What do you think? When you look forward to the next year, I know it's really early to talk about it.
Yeah.
We're still in the middle of March Madness, obviously, with the tournament. But what do you think? What could some of the storylines for you be as we go forward to next season?
It's easy to say that Wichita State's still going to be on top. You know, I think with that core that we talked about, VanVleet, Baker, and Cotton, they're going to be really, really tough to beat. And maybe they won't quite have the size, especially with Clay Anthony Early being the dynamic scorer that he is. But like I said before, look for Darius Carter to fill in a little bit of that role. That team is going to be tough to beat, not only in the Missouri Valley, but also for any of the other 300-plus basketball schools throughout the country. Another team that I look forward to after making pretty big strides this year is Illinois State. Dan Muller's got his group after struggling at the start, playing pretty well, playing that zone toward the end of the year. Lost in the semifinals of the CBI. And it's pretty easy to forget, early in the season, they beat a Dayton team who was in the top 25. Obviously, we've seen some pretty good things out of Dayton here in the last couple weeks. I really like Reggie Lynch, their freshman shot blocker and rebounder. Deshaun Knight and Bobby Hunter are also pretty good players, kind of returning with that core. They really don't lose a whole lot of their scoring punch and their offensive output, guys that really played a lot of minutes on that team. So I look for them to make a pretty big stride. The other one, the newbies in the Missouri Valley Conference, the Loyola Ramblers. I mean, Milton Doyle is pretty much enough in and of himself to be excited to look for going into next year. But just like Illinois State, they don't lose a heck of a lot. Their core is returning. They have a couple of guys that played a lot of minutes. Their point guard, White, being one of those that was really a dynamic player for them. Devin Turk also coming on the all-bench team. So you got a lot of guys in that core. after this year, since they have a little bit of experience in the conference, look for them to make a little bit of a stride in the right direction. And two other teams I'll mention real quick. Southern Illinois, Barry Hansen, after the early struggles, really got that team playing well, tied for fourth in the conference this year. And another team that maybe had higher expectations coming into this year, but might surprise a few people next year, is the Northern Iowa Panthers. Seth Tuttle had a fantastic season. Ended up getting himself on first-team All-Conference, as well as you got guys like Nate Buss, who was the sixth man of the year, on the all-bench team, and Wes Washpun, who was on the all-newcomer team. So that UNI team has a good core as well. There's a lot of exciting team. I mentioned five quick teams right there to look forward to in 2014, 2015.
Yeah, it's certainly the Valley back on an upswing. It'll be exciting to see what happens next year. Anything can happen. I mean, we talked about at the beginning when we first started doing this, but it's Missouri Valley Conference. Anything can happen. So, Adam, we appreciate your insight all season long. It's been fantastic and a great ride, and we thank you for joining us each week here on the Shootaround.
Yeah, it was fun. Great. Thanks, Derek.
Absolutely. Thank you, folks. This has been the last episode this season for the NBC Hoop Shootaround, brought to you by Purina Dog Chow. Help keep them strong. Dog Chow strong.